I was at home last week, and the phone calls start like a week before, and it's usually like a text from somebody in the WSL. Hey, are you around next week, Wednesday? Yeah. And then you start looking at the maps, the phones start ringing more. It's like 5 days out. The blob actually touches the ocean in 4 days and starts to materialize. Then you get an idea of what the storm looks like, how big it's going to be, what the winds are doing. And at 4 days, they greenlighted the contest. They greenlighted it for the production of the Peahi big wave event on Saturday. So we knew Saturday, and then they publicly did it on Monday. So Monday morning we flew first thing in the morning as they greenlighted it. And we got there, took all day running around, setting up the event site, getting scaffolding going, and Monday night Pete Mel calls and Gary, Lyndon, and Peter talking, and the latest models came out, and the storm downgraded and basically had gone more west, which meant that it was going to be blocked by Molokai and not get into that 3-10 window, which is where they want for jaws to really start breaking and be good. So they figured the storm, which had gotten bigger but had dropped, was going to miss a lot of jaws. So with one map call, they called a few surfers and a few people they didn't call that weren't too psyched, and they called the contest off with half of their crew in motion already. So at that point, we kind of sat around and went, what are we going to do? We're on Maui, let's go surf and have fun. So started, a few guys came over, but it was mainly for this last swell. It was just the Maui guys, the Walshes, Matt Miola, just a lot of that crew, absolutely charging. A few dudes came over on Thursday, but it's pretty wild to watch how all that goes down. On Wednesday, I ran safety for the Walshes, DK and Ian. We basically had calculated to be 5 hours from Wednesday morning from when it hit Waimea to getting to Jaws, and it was dead on the mark. There's dudes in the water going, all right, first set hit, phone rings, Ian's like, all right, we're rolling, hook up skis, go down to the beach, grab some food and juices. Incredibly hardworking athletes on their program, physically, mentally, they eat right, they know, what you're putting in is what you're getting out. And if you want to surf for 8 hours in, hell conditions, it's going to take a little bit of training on the forefront. So yeah, you swing by the nature store and grab some hippie juices and pack the skis and start launching. We got out there and it was pretty windy on Wednesday, and there were some good 30-footers coming through, 30-foot Hawaiian, 40 to 50-foot faces, and a lot of guys kiting. It looked like Waterworld. It was 15 skis, there's kites, there's windsurfers, there's dudes trying to paddle surf that are just looking like kites blowing out the back. I saw this guy pull in, and he wasn't under the lip enough, and he started to come up out of the top, and the wind caught him, and he just the board came down and just pretty much clotheslined him in the face and took him out the back. You're just like, the guy's just ruining themselves. And we hung on for an hour, and the wind started to change about 4 o'clock, and Ian and DK paddled out. Ian sat on the right, and DK went and sat on the left because nobody was over there. And the lefts are actually bigger with the west swell, the way it was coming in, and it was really kind of bowling in just a big old U shape. But the lefts were gnarly, and DK took off on his first wave, and we were sitting on the right. So we've got 2 guys in the water, 2 safety skis, man on man. And you watch out for other dudes, but you take care of the guys that are in your nest on your program first. So DK went down on the first left and almost got swept all the way into the rocks. It only takes about 3 waves before you're in the rocks, and if you end up on the rocks, you're fucked. Your board's gone, you're getting cheese-grated up and down these rocks. Your safety guy is probably not going to come get you at that point, and you are walking back home up the cliff. So yeah, we got DK, and he went and sat out the back, and it was just these really cool colors out there. Sitting on the left with him, and you're hollering out waves when you see sets out the back, and he took some gnarly Waimea dives trying to get under waves, just clean up sets, because it was probably 50 foot at this point. And I saw him paddle for one, and it was a jarring one. He's trying to make it under, and as he stood up on his board and took his dive and jumped, there was just these huge blues and greens, and he was standing up, and the lip came over him as he was standing up and dove. So he was stand-up paddling basically inside of a barrel going out, and then took his dive through the wave. And it's like, you can see, like, it's so big, you can see people in boats on the right, on the other side through this tube. And you're just like, you could have fit a mini Cessna in there. It was huge. It must have been, I'd say 30 feet wide, the way they was thrown. So yeah, he bagged a bunch of lefts and warmed up, had some good late drops. And then he turned, the sky went black, the set came in, everyone's like scrambling. There's that photo of like 30 guys on the inside. And the second one of that set, DK, like I came over that first wave and just watched everyone get blown through. And DK turned on it, and a couple other guys passed, and he, like, under the lip, was just kind of like halfway up the lip, and as he started to drop, he, like, you could see his board start to feather and kite out the back, and he, like, literally took his foot, the front foot, and just stomped through it and powered down this thing. But it was like a full-on 20-30 foot, like, drop, just vertical drop, before he even caught the transition in the wave and made it through. It probably was a 50-foot wave, like face size. It was big, and he rode it all the way through. He passed me and he kept going, and you could just see him. He did like a big turn at the end and just got the sickest one. And then it's pretty funny, like, you know, he's a bit of a wild one out there. He's the undeclared mayor of Jaws, running safety with the Skull Base guys. So we get back on the ski, and he's like, hey, I'm gonna drive for a second. He proceeds to drive through the lineup and just take the accolades and high five everyone. And everyone's like, dude, that was a sick one, Deke. Like, yeah, good laugh. That was balmy. It was huge. And he just drives around kind of doing one of these, like, yeah, boys. Pretty funny. Like, and it was a trying point to see, after Pete Mel had called the contest off, to see whether it was contestable the next day. And that's such a tough call. You still don't know, even Wednesday night, what Thursday is going to look like, let alone on Sunday when we were supposed to start, you know, mobilizing 50 people in a production crew to run a giant event with a webcast. So it's damn near impossible. It's a really hard job. But unfortunately, Thursday morning we got out there at first light, launched in the dark out of Malika Gulch, got around the corner, and it was 25 foot, and it was sheet glass, and looked like the most perfect barreling giant almond wave that you could imagine. It was slow to start, and then the crowd showed up. So yeah, we got out there and boys jumped in. We had two guys, DK and Ian, were out surfing. Mark Matthews, Hippo, Dingo. That crew came over. We ran safety for them as well. They had a filmer floating around there, a photographer. Kai Lenny and his circus are out there making a movie. Kai Lenny is an absolutely charger, can ride anything. The guy is, from stand-up paddle to kiteboard to paddle surfing, he surfs so well. He's just naturally talented. And he's like 16 years old and fueled on cotton candy and Red Bull, so I don't blame him. Yeah, but classic circus, I mean, you're just as likely to die at Jaws getting run over by somebody else on a boat than you are getting the lip to the head. I think the lip to the head would be better than getting run over by some of those boat guys. Yeah, just some classic shenanigans in the channel. You got guys up on the cliff. Cliff was super crowded, hundreds of people. Really the standouts to start the morning was Paige Alms, who's really tried to push progressive surfing at Jaws for women for a long time. She paddled into a deep one, and it just started to do its thing and sucked up and lipped over, and she rode the high line of the perfect barrel, and was in there for a hot set, came out totally calm, cool, and she bagged, like, for sure one of the best waves of women surfing I've ever seen. And Mark Matthews had a really good one, fighting through this barrel, just trying to manhandle to get out of the foam ball. And then right afterwards, Josh, Vanilla the Gorilla, South African kid, took a couple. He was surfing it like it was 4-foot restaurants, just having a blast, but full, just deep tubes disappearing, full spit, come out after the spit thing. It was a crazy show. Okay, so the way Jaws comes in, it funnels into like a big V, and it basically has like a little canyon out there where it gets smaller and smaller up to a point, and that's what funnels the swell into a peak and then dumps on the reef. But it comes in diagonally, so when you sit out there, you line up basically right off the backbone, like you're sitting behind the pack of surfers, which is crazy because here comes this 50-foot wave, and the channel's real deep, it's about 100 feet, so you know where it's going to be for the most part. and you're just watching the guys come past you. You know, it's this really eerie perspective looking at the guys right in front of you and then having them go kind of to the side. But I ended up too far inside and had Peanut, a filmer, on the back, and he's trying to get a shot of Mark, and Mark pulled into this tube, and as we pulled into the tube, we were tracking with him. So we were actually kind of behind the lip almost, but on the inside in the impact zone. And as he got shot out, we kind of shot with him. So we tracked him through a 40-foot wave and through a barrel and just came out with him, which is crazy. So just, yeah, it scares the normal human being. There's some people that do real well with it and are totally comfortable, and I'd like to think that I'm one of those, and there's people that just look like fish out of water. It's like a giraffe running around in the rainforest. They're just confused. So yeah, there are a couple rescues on Thursday. Wednesday was definitely the gnarlier day, but Thursday I went in to get Billy Kemper. He'd taken a nasty one, pulled his vest, just was floated immediately, kind of looked dazed. And I went in to get him, and I got him between the wave he fell on and the second one, and as I came in, I could feel there was a lot of foam in there. And he waved me off and gave me the okay sign, so I kind of started to motor out. As I motored out, I just kind of was in this boil section of whitewater, 300 yards wide, and start revving the ski, and it cavitates, which means that it sends, it's sucking up the water or the foam that's in the water. So it's not pushing water through the impeller, it's actually just pushing air, which doesn't do anything for you. You're going nowhere. And it's one of the worst feelings because you turn around to see where the wave is and you're watching this monster come down behind you, and all of a sudden you're revving the engine, but you're neutral. And you're just kind of you rev and rev. And normally each spot kind of cavitates differently or has different foam. Jaws is one of the gnarlier ones, like foam that will be 6 feet tall and you just can't get to the bottom of. So you keep sucking and sucking and hoping that you start to suck water, and you're watching this thing just get closer and closer and closer, and you're going nowhere. And I slowly started to move and get water in there, and water, and just edged my way out and barely made it into the channel as the ski then took off. I was like, wow, all right. But it definitely gives you the shakes. You get back out there and you're like, wow, I almost got mowed down, and that would have really hurt to go over the falls with a ski or something that large. So all in all, good swell. Good to see, it was the biggest swell of the year we've had, and pretty fun to be a part of it.
Yes, I'm fantastic. How are you?
Do I look good?
You look amazing.
Okay. Geez, what was I doing when we started watching this swell?